Hey crafters, welcome to Paulette's Pretty Paper Crafts and Millie's third birthday. Katie purchased this cow at 70% off at Joann's. I pulled out my vintage tablecloth and some of my plate collection. Everything came together beautifully and we had a great turnout. Katie makes the best deviled eggs. She also got these little pig place card holders at 70% off. We used some Spellbinder's dies and various stamps and colored those with Copic markers. Katie has a knack for displaying party things for these themed parties. The cupcake toppers are actually on some Wilton sucker sticks. Here's the invitations. Katie loves doing personalized invitations and she mails those out. They turned out so cute. There's that darling cart I picked up for $25 at Billings. And her husband made her this chicken wire frame. There's that banner I worked for 2 weeks on. Well worth it. Millie loved it. Everybody did. It really turned out cute. There's the We Are Memory Keepers pinwheels, the little lunch bag, treat bags, stamped in Stampin' Up! Classic ink pads. Katie hand cut all of these fun foam masks and the kids loved them. I'm sure they took home more than one. Thank you guys so much for joining me in our party. Stay tuned for the farm card video. This is late August 2015 and I'm flying by the seat of my pants as usual. I've just grabbed these pre-cut and pre-embossed pieces of Eileen Hull's 3D canning jars. This is some mat board that was a great dumpster dive and should I tell that? These were embossed with the Fall Set Fall Fence by Sizzix and then also the Sizzix Vintage Wallpaper die on the back here. I sponged these with some Stampin' Up! Water-based dye inks and doodled on it with Copics to enhance all of the images. And I just love the way this accepts Copic marker. Really beautiful. This little box holds about 4 treat-sized candy bars, and that'll just be a sweet thing that Millie can have with her birthday. I'm going to pick some things. I pulled all of these different farm-related items, and gosh, I did use some of these dies on her birthday banner for her birthday in June, and that turned out so cute. And that would probably work, but I'd have to do some more die cutting. And I think I'm just in the mood to do some stamping and some coloring. So this adorable stamp, Farm Friends, is by Saltbox Studio, and it is what we use to create the invitations. I'm going to stamp on a glass mat because I just get better stamping results that way. I'm going to use the barn. This adorable cow, which we used on the invitations. Super cute. And I think probably the pig. So just figuring out the placement. And I thought I was going to use that rooster from a Stampin' Up! Set, but I just don't have room for him. And that's how it goes when I'm creating. And that's okay. I am going to stamp all these images in some Memento Tuxedo Black for my Copic coloring. And I finally found a re-inker for my Memento pad at Stampin' Up! So I can just re-ink my pad when I need to. That works out really good. So just getting all these images down. Better move these out of the way. I always get my sleeve in the stamps, and then I have ink all over my sleeves and wonder why. Does that happen to anybody else? Oh my goodness. Okay. I think I was trying to decide if I needed a sentiment yet or not, and that will come later. So there are also these little wheat images, and originally they were part of the cow stamp, and I have altered that so that I can use them separately. So I'm just going to put them back together and stick them on an acrylic block. Jennifer McGuire gave me permission to do that. And I'm so glad. It just really makes your stamps more versatile, and just, you can do so many different things. And that works really well with the photopolymer stamps that are of a good quality. So just stamping my wheat to each side of the barn. And I like that. This has come together really well. But it still needs a little something, so I think I'm going to draw just kind of a barnyard area. And my marker is getting a little dry. This is just a Sharpie fine point black marker I picked up at probably Walmart. And I really thought that that came in a 2-pack, but constantly I'm missing the other marker. So, you know what? I know where it's at. It's in my bag that I take to stamp class. Because I also like for people to write their names on the name tags with it. So I'm also doodling a little bit of grass here, just to give a better separation between the wheat and the barnyard. And I just do this at random. I doodle a little bit, and then I just stop and look at it and see where it needs things. And just, you know, fill in as necessary until it looks right to me. Very easily I can go overboard here, but I've kind of learned to, you know, when it gets pretty decent, just leave it alone. So it's pretty good here, and I had a little smudge of ink, so my card is getting some birds. They really need to be flying there over the farm and over the wheat anyway, don't they? Yes, they do. Whenever you see birds on my card, it's usually because I got a little smudge or a little dot of ink. But you know, for any outdoor cards, it always works. Because the pig has a little bit of ground under him that was incorporated in the stamp, I'm adding a little bit of ground to the cow too. And I'm doing a little bit of dot detail because the pig's little piece of ground has that. And then it just looked a little sparse, so I'm just flicking in little bits of grass or weeds, whatever you want to call that, just to really just make it come together. So that's pretty good. And I've got some E70. I'm going to just outline my cow ever so slightly with the thinnest line I can possibly draw, just around the face, around the legs, where there might be a little shading, like they're kind of on the back haunch, and just a little bit across the backbone. I think any little detail that you can add, even if it is subtle, just really makes it come together. Makes it more, I don't know, realistic necessarily, but it just adds something. And then I think this is a really good color to go ahead and just put on the stalk of my wheat. So just tossing those in. I'm going to use a little bit of Y18 on the cow's bell. I was so tempted to use that Y18, but I'm going to do the wheat in Y26. And just ended up dotting that in here because they're just some really small leaf shaped items. I'm also going to color the weeds here that are the edge of my barnyard. And that just really made this fit in very well with my card design. And I'm using this same marker to color in that little bit of straw at the top of the barn. I'm going to take some number 0 gray and just saturate these spots on the cow. And then go in with my black Bic and just outline those spots. I didn't have my new Copics at the time I did the original cow, so this worked out a little bit better once I had my refills and this C4 gray, just to kind of blend that a little bit. And then I'm going to go over the top of it again with the number 0 gray. Those really pale Copic markers are just magic. When you go over your coloring, it just blends everything together. It's really a cool effect. So I've ended up with a few really pale colors, and I just really like it. It even kind of models, M-O-T-T-L-E, the darker colors, and it just really smooths them out. So I've got some RV55, and I'm going to do the cow ears and outline the muzzle. And then take the RV52 and color the nose. Oh, and I need to do some eyebrows, which may not be a very good thing. My eyebrows tend to make stuff look mad. I need to go and study some eyebrows. I've got the Y26, and I'm going to just make a shadow on my bell. And now I'm just deciding. I'm going to use some E99 and color in the ground underneath the cow. I'm sorry, you will hear Maddox, my 6-month-old grandbaby, during this voiceover. And this is where I decide to look inside the card, and look what I've done. I've colored through to the back side of the card. I'm going to use some Zero Blender and get rid of that. I know better, but that's what happens when you're flying by the seat of your pants. Now I'm just going to fill in the ground area below the cow with this lovely E99. It's just a really nice kind of rusty brown, and just kind of doing some swooshing back and forth there. And then I really need to blend this out, so I'm grabbing some Y32. Again, with those light colors, they just blend the dark colors in. It's just like magic. I love it. And I guess I will color in. I've got some ink right here below the barn, and I'm going to try to disguise it with this Y32 first. whenever I have a mistake, I just go ahead. I just continue on and see if I can recover from it. All the while, I'm still thinking, oh, what can I do? What can I do? So it happens right there, right under the barn. It's on my hands. This is what happens all the time. But by this point, you've invested too much time, so I'm going to work on the sky while I think about that a little bit more. I've got this pale blue and my zero blender, and I'm going to do this awesome technique that Kathy Rakusin taught us in the 30-day color challenge that was in June this year, 2015, where you take a lighter marker and you just touch the brush tip of the darker marker, and this gives you a color that's in between the two, a lighter color. I wasn't really thrilled with how this was working. I did look at the nib of the blender to see exactly where that color was so I could go ahead and be sure and get it onto my card. Now I'm cleaning the blender pen. And just go over these spots one more time. I really, at this point, felt like this was a bust. So I'm just going to fade all those little marks out a little bit more. I'm really wishing I had my pale Celestine blue, but that refill's on back order. But you know, this turned out perfectly. If you have something that you're just not sure about, just go ahead and do it. Get up, walk away, leave your project for a moment, take a restroom break, go get a cup of coffee or a soda, and come back. It's always better when you come back. Always, trust me. I'm coloring in the bow with some R29. And I'm just going to go ahead and use this red for my barn too. Super simple filling in. I'm not going to do any blending or shading on this. I'm really in a hurry and I just need to get this done because as soon as this card's done, we're going to walk out the door. Mike made Millie this awesome skateboard swing that you stand on, and it's got a handle on each side with ropes, and you stand on it and just swing back and forth. So now the barn is filled in, and I left that little trim area white as per typical cute barn. And now I'm just going to color in those dark recess areas in the barn with the C4 Cool Gray. And again, just filling it in, blocking the color in, nothing fancy. And I rotate my work as I color. That just makes it a lot easier for my old hands, my old carpal tunnel surgery hand. So I say do what works for you. This is such a nice color. I need a couple more of these cool gray colors. So just going back over some of that. Oh, I love how this is turning out. Now I'm going to take some E35. I just felt like that needed a little bit of a shadow back there. So just laying in that shadow and adding a little extra under the pig. I kind of do this back and forth swooshing to kind of make the ground textured or more natural looking. And I just really feel like I need some more dot texture and grass texture with my fine point black marker. It's looking a little sparse over here under that cow. So just being careful not to do too much. And then ultimately, I'm going to end up having to cover. I thought, well, I'll fill in these blank spots to see if I can avoid having to fill in where that ink is right underneath the barn. So some more Y32. And a little bit of this pink marker by Bic. Let's see, it is Pink Flamingo. And just doing some really fast circular coloring to fill in the pig. I just felt like it's a little bit duller pink than the RV55. And now I'm just blending that out with RV52. And I'll use a little bit of this RV55 to come back in and do just a little bit of shading. The face got a little pale there with the pale pink. A little pink on the tail. A little shading under the belly. And just over the back. Fill in them little bitty legs. There's barely anything there to color. And I'm going to just dot in the hoof area with the Bic Market Black, which probably has a name. It's called Tuxedo Black. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to get away with that ink being in there, and I've got to put my sentiment somewhere. I'm deciding that it needs to be hanging between the mouth of the cow and the pig, although it would be very convenient to stamp it where the ink is right under the barn. This is some Color Bock kind of craft paper that came in a pad from Walmart. It's not my favorite cardstock. It's got a funny, I don't know, a funny sheen to it, so it's a little bit odd to use, but you can stamp on it, and I've got it. I've already used some of it, so I'm just going to use it till it's all gone. And then for my next craft, I think I'll buy the heavyweight pack from Hobby Lobby by the Paper Studio. I discovered that the last time I was shopping. So I've got some birthday sentiments here, and this stamp set is called Printworks Happy Spring Q040 and stamped Happy Birthday on here. And get rid of all these scraps. And I trimmed and trimmed and trimmed on that. I think I'm ready to glue it down. And then I'm just going to draw the strings here going through the cow's mouth and out the other side. with a little bow there. And this really worked really good on the cow side. Not so good on the pig side, but Millie won't know the difference. She just turned 3 in June. I think it's because of the way we were facing the cow head on, and the pig is kind of the side view, but it's okay. A little more detail. I actually ended up writing Millie's name under the birthday sentiment. And I don't know if you noticed, but you can hear Maddox's musical chair while I'm doing voiceover bits throughout the video, so I apologize for that. I was really considering putting some dot detail and lines with that Bic market, but in the end I ended up using my Sharpie fine point. Sometimes you just gotta roll. When you have mistakes, you just compensate for them. You know, I've always got so much time invested. By the time these inky mistakes happen, that I've just learned to compensate for them and make them look like they're part of the whole plan. I think this turned out pretty darn cute. So I'll have a close-up of the card coming up here, and also the envelope that I stamped to go with it. If you have any questions at all, please leave me a comment, and I will answer those as soon as possible. Thanks for watching.